Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we are talking about the spell Dominate Person.
Uh, 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 uh. Yep.
All right. Um, like and subscribe. Like
It's
and
working.
subscribe.
Oh, I
All
just
right.
did. I hit the like button. I even hit the little bell that tells me to be notified when we upload new things, which is every day. Uh
Yes, that's true.
Dominate Person is a sweet little fifth level spell. A ton of people get it. Bards, sorcerers, wizards, trickery domain, order domain, oathbreakers, oath of conquest, archfey, great old ones. Probably more than that, but that's all the D&D Beyond tells me. So it's a pretty banger of a spell. A lot of people get this. It's very good. You attempt to it's got a concentration duration. Cast time of an action, 60-foot range, verbal Hispanic components. It's an enchantment spell. Sure, why not? You attempt to beguile a humanoid that you can see within range. It must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or be charmed by you for the duration. So that on its own just means you have advantage on charisma checks with it. And the charm resident, you have advantage on any ability check to interact with them socially. Advantage on all those. And it can't attack you with harmful abilities or magical effects, full stop. So that just is in addition to everything else we're about to read. If you or a creature that are friendly if you or a creatures that are friendly to you are fighting the creature you're attempting to charm, it is advantage on the saving throw. Now, the meat of the spell. While the target is charmed, you have a telepathic link with it as long as the two of you are on the same plane of existence. You can use this telepathic link to issue commands to the creature while you are conscious, no action required, which does its best to obey. You can specify a simple or general course of action to attack creature or whatever there, fetch an object, anything like, build a house, whatever, you can tell it to do it. If the creature completes the order and doesn't receive further direction from you, it defends itself and preserves itself to the best of its ability. You can use your action to take total precise control of the target. Until the end of your next turn, the creature takes only the actions you choose and doesn't do anything that you don't allow it to do. During this time, you can also cause the creature to use a reaction, but it requires you use your own reaction. So basically, you can substitute your entire turn for its, and you get to do whatever you want with it. Plus, you get your move and bonus action, all the other fun stuff. Each time the target takes damage, it makes a new wisdom saving throw. If the saving throw succeeds, the spell ends. So if people are whacking it, it'll eventually fall off. And at higher levels, the concentration goes up in duration. So you go from 1 minute to 10 minutes with the 6th level. 7th is an hour. 8th is 8th or higher. It's up to 8 hours. So you can never 9th level perma control somebody, but for 8th level or higher, you get a full day's worth of it. All right, Bob.
I'm a little confused. The first and second parts. All right. The telepathic link, you get to give it commands.
Yes.
As a what was that? No action required.
Yep. You
Okay,
just
cool.
mentally say, do a thing.
And the total and precise control using an action. What's the difference there?
So the difference is in specificity. So let's put us in an environment. Let's say you take control of a bugbear whenever you're fighting a bugbear and 4 of his goblin buddies. If you say, issue the command, attack the middle goblin, it can go and attack the middle goblin by kicking it, by hitting with his mace, by whatever it deems the right course of action.
Okay.
If it decides to use its mace, it'll use its mace. If it decides not, maybe it's disarmed, maybe for some reason hasn't drawn the mace, and it takes the most immediate course of action, that is punching it. If you want to be sure that it's going to do exactly what you want, which is attack the goblin with its mace, you can have it do that. Otherwise, it'll do whatever it figures is the best way to proceed. Sometimes you're going to have a general command like protect me. If protect me is the general command that you have it doing, it might interpose itself, try and block damage for you and not strike back at things. You might want to give it general commands of kill everyone in this room, but you really need to change its focus onto a single person. That's an option you can do as well.
Well, but then you could say kill that guy.
True. Finite control really is here to specifically say, I want this course of action done in a very specific way, and I'm just going to do it myself. I'm going to take control of exactly what you're doing using your senses and react accordingly as I go about it. The other big thing that it does is give you their reaction, which before you otherwise wouldn't really have. You can't decide what it does. You could conceivably assume that it will make attacks of opportunity and things like that. You could conceivably assume that it would use counterspell whenever you would deem it to. But if you're trying to control for, say, let's say a wizard with counterspell, if you're telling them to kill things, they may not use their reaction to counter something because you don't have the time necessarily to do that. Whereas if you take finite control of them, you can have them using their spells and then also hold up their counter spells and stuff like that. That's all very minor. I think 99% of the time you're telling it just do a thing and it'll do the thing. But their finite control isn't nothing. It is going to be and specifically whenever you want to control a person and impersonate them. You want someone to dominate a person and enter in a social circumstance where you say exactly what you want without any kind of, with a lot better of a ruse. That is
Right.
where I think the thin and control becomes a lot more valuable.
Okay. That confusion is cleared up. Thank you.
Excellent. Happy to help.
So when are you using this?
All the time on almost every character that can take it. It's amazing in combat. If you can, so it's amazing immediately prior to combat. If you can ever take a threat and say, you're no longer a threat, you're on our team, you've gotten an extra ally and functionally killed an enemy ally for a few rounds, and that's huge. That can be so unbelievably powerful. To take the strongest humanoid around you and make them an ally to your team, especially if they're ranged, because then they're not getting hit and this is falling off less easily, then you're going to be setting yourself up for huge amounts of success. On top of that, having a minute thin and control over a person just to say and do things with is really potentially hugely impactful. Getting control of a corrupt king and freeing all their slaves is a real course of action you can take that can be a big, meaningful narrative swing. You can make people do and say despicable things to get people to hate them. You can convert 1 minute of dominate person in the right setting can utterly throw a campaign on its head in some ways your DM is never going to be prepared for, because they're just, how can you prepare against any other NPC suddenly having a radical change of heart when your player is a really stupid idea? And that's the tier of spell we're talking about here. It's not always going to be that powerful, but it's always going to have the floor of being a great combat utility spell, and it's always going to have the floor of, I shouldn't say always, against the large majority of things you're fighting, typically humanoids. That's where it's going to have a lot of meat. That's where it's going to be very good. And against some other environments, it won't have targets. And that's fine, because the spell's really busted when it does have targets.
Now, if unlike Charm Person, this one you can just say, go run off that cliff.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. That's something else.
There aren't words in here that prevent it from taking actions that don't hurt itself. So
right.
You could just say, I would like you to run off the cliff. I'd like you to break your skull in with this hammer. Now, granted, the first time it takes damage, breaking skull with the hammer can make the save. So you want to make sure if you are trying to use it to kill somebody, you're making sure that the death is instantaneous and complete all at once. You don't want slow, painful deaths. You want dead. So the spell, doesn't end before
hit yourself with this hammer and make it count.
Really, I need you to really lean into this blow. Most of the time, I think you're not doing it for that. I think most of the time I think the upcast makes this
if he killed all his friends already, he's like, now what are we gonna do with him? Go run off the cliff.
Sure. Yeah, 4 rounds of combat. It ends real quick as you get the ambush and you got the last remaining fella. I mean, you can also just say throw all your things in the ground and run into the woods. And that probably solves that problem too. There are going to be ways where even in situations where there isn't an immediate cliff, you're going to have no real issue dealing with the straggler. Even just be like, hey, lie prone where our barbarian can cut you for your head off. That's an easy way to do it, right?
I find myself in situations every day where I'm not near cliffs.
It's a common occurrence. Many find. Yeah. I think my more interesting question that I have about this is, can a non-evil character use it? And I think the answer is pretty definitively no. I don't think there are morally good uses for this, more or less across the board.
Well, what a talking him down from the ledge.
I don't know. I guess. So maybe in the best,
he's about to murder a baby. Whoa, stop.
Yeah.
And
okay, all right. You convinced me.
Work on that imagination of yours, Sam.
Listen, I'm
baby murderer.
I'm thinking of using it in a case where you're compelling someone to do something, not to not do something, not to stop an action, but to continue or do a new action. I find it very hard to justify. I'm just saying,
these are uses.
You're right. That's fair. I guess there are good uses of it. If you take dominate person exclusively to talk people off of ledges, to save babies' lives, to free all the slaves, sure. Then I guess dominate person can be a good spell. But I feel like the vast majority of use cases are
freeing the slaves was your idea.
That's never happening in D&D 95% of the time. That's a big climactic roleplay moment that the spell can shine in, but that's happening 1 in 10 campaigns, if that, right? the vast majority of the time you're using this, it's to impersonate somebody or it's to get them to kill their friends, right?
Yeah.
Like that, and that's certainly evil.
No. Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's,
I'm just saying there are instances.
That's fair. There are instances. I do love Dominate Person. I love the ethical quandaries that it makes me think of every time I cast it, because I definitely cast it, and I think that's the reason why I can never say I play good characters. It's just very fun, because you're already the DM. You're already, whenever you DM a lot, you're used to being like, I control the little pieces, and they do the things, and I have a little story that's going on, and they're all saying their narratives, and I'm playing a bunch of different people as once. So when I'm a player and I don't get to do that, this is the way I get to do that, and that's very fun for me, personally.
All right,
if you're a DM
now,
that likes DMing, this is a great spell for you.
The moral question comes,
Mhm.
because I've presented truly good uses of this, and
Agreed.
of course there are truly evil uses of it. Now the gray area though is, what if these are all Nazis or something, and you get one of them to kill all his friends?
Bob, here's where I'm going to land. I think if it's classified as a war crime, it's going to go in the evil category for me, regardless of who you do it on. That's definitely a war crime. So, yeah,
dark
that's
gray
still
area.
dark gray area. Sure,
Charcoal.
definitely still evil. Absolutely. Listen, it's fun. It's D&D. I think despicable things happen in D&D that we can laugh about because it's a fantasy pretend world, and that's great. And that's what D&D's kind of for. It's why, like, people that play Call of Duty aren't all murderous, rampaging assholes. But it's, Call of Duty is a bunch of people shooting each other. D&D's kind of the same space. And yeah, I think we accept a lot of the more evil and maniacal stuff at the right tables. There are some groups that's definitely, off the table, not kosher, and that's perfectly fine. I get it. I think that there's a lot of fun to be had at poking fun at some of the more ridiculous, ludicrous, horribly evil things. And even I think there's a lot of merit to the tables that just say, I don't really want to think about it. I'm just going to use the spells because they're fun, and throw morality entirely out the window and just have a good time with it.
Yep.
I say that, but like there's always a line as far as like you don't throw all morality out the window for most D&D tables. But you get what I'm saying. There's a time and a place, there's a fine line to draw with evil spells. I think this is one that can be an absolute blast with the right group. And again, I'd recommend it. I think it's super fun.
All right. Yeah, I guess we've covered it. There's a lot of text, but it essentially does what it says on the box. It dominates a person. You got a rating?
I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't give this a 5 out of 5. Humanoids are so common. It is such a backbreaking effect that your DM might have had a plan, and you get to 9th level, and they don't think about the repercussions of you having Dominate Person, and now you're playing an entirely different campaign because you got the one specific big bad to do something profoundly stupid, and that from this point forward, the DM always has to recognize that humanoid villains are going to have to deal with Dominate Person, and it's going to have a real major impact on how they have to play the game. Because you can't just stop putting humanoids at the table for the most part. There's still going to be towns. There's still going to be places to go and interface with people that speak the language, right? You can't have everything now be a monster. So this is going to almost always have targets. The targets typically are very good. A lot of tables like to have villains that are relatable. Those tend to be humanoid. So you're going to be in a kind of environment where this is going to be routinely good. I don't know. I think it has a wild warping effect on the game, but I think it's oftentimes really fun. I think Dominate Person is both an amazing combat spell and out of combat spell. Its upcasting is great. There's nothing bad about the spell. I think it's exceptional.
Yeah, 5 out of 5. I'll agree with that. This is a pillar spell. This is
If
one
you want to beat the mind controller, this is it.
Yeah, this is one a lot of characters they'll be working toward.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that was Dominate Person. Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining us. It's Dominate Person, man. Let us know what you think in the comments. Tell us some of your stories. Run wild.
Yeah.
All right. Until next time, we'll see you later. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it. A gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description where you'll find my Caverns Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.